Okay, YouTube, this is going to be part 2 of my welding cart build. So, first thing I'm going to do is get started with the actual top. I want to build a wooden top, and I'm going to use some 2x4s. That seems to be probably the cheapest material to build it out of. I could probably use plywood, but I want to build a fairly thick top so that I can use it to support the weight of the welders, and even do a little overhang on either side of the cart. So those are the 2x4s over there that I'm going to use. I'm not sure if you can see them or not, but I'm going to cut those up and we'll get started with that. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting these pieces up at the actual length of the tabletop. It's going to be, I'm going to rip them in half, joint them and plane them, glue them all back together. These are just dimensional 2x4s from Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever, and they're not the straightest boards, and they're not going to turn out to be the straightest boards if I don't, machine them or clean them up. So I'm going to cut rip the 2x4s on my table saw here, but I wanted to just kind of go over this real quick with you guys. This was my grandfather's table saw, and when he passed away, of course, I got it, and it was built in like 1955, and he didn't buy it brand new, but he used it quite a bit, and he used it for a lot of years, probably in a very unsafe way, on an unsafe table, and I did quite an extensive modification to it to make it a little bit safer. I put a new motor on it, new switch, new fence, but for the most part it's the same saw that he always used. So, and it's in my shop, and I made a nice outfeed table with it that makes it more safe, and so I'm just going to use it. And this is the outfeed table. This fastens onto the saw, and basically what it does is comes up like this, some legs that extend out. Could also be a workstation, or just a nice workbench. Serves as a way for the material to go through the saw and not fall off the back side. And my grandfather would have loved to have had this in his shop. This is just a recent addition. I probably did this about a year and a half ago. Okay, there's my tabletop. I've got to run it through the jointer and the planer to get all these edges square, take the twists out of them. I mean, this is what you get when you buy fast growth lumber from Home Depot or Lowe's. It's just, as soon as you cut it and release all that tension, it just goes crazy on you. Doesn't help changing the environment between the air-conditioned store and the humid outdoor air of your garage or whatever. But so I'm going to plane this up, join it up. It's going to obviously make it smaller, but I planned for that. So okay, what this device does is this makes one edge 90 degrees to the other edge. But once you establish that you have a 90-degree edge here, it makes for then running it through the other piece of equipment, the planer, that it'll make one of these edges parallel with the other edge. So that's what we're going to do here. There's the blade. I don't know if you can see it. Blade rotates, and it takes off just a small amount of wood. Let's get started. Okay, there's the result of the joiner and then taking off the other side after it's been jointed with the table saw. So what we have, and you could probably see this, you've got this side 90 degrees to this side, and this side 90 degrees to this side. So, but this dimension kind of goes up at an angle. You can see that. Now we have to run this through the planer, and the planer will take off this surface, making this side parallel to this side, which then gives you 4 90-degree corners. And if you didn't already tell, the joints have tightened up quite a bit just from that process. I wanted to point out one other thing, and that is when you do this kind of stuff, when you run these pieces through the machine, you have to be very careful with the way you orient them after they come out of the machine. You can't just put them down any which way. They have to all be done in the correct sequence. So you can either mark them, or you can prepare them like I did. I know they're all facing the right way, and I know which side has to get planed now. I know which side had to get cut off. So that's one of the things that you have to do, is make sure that if you're gonna, even with the table saw, even if you're using just the table saw to square these things up, you got to know which end you cut and which end is going to get cut next. So it's important to when you batch these out, this is the way they got to be. Otherwise you'll lose track and the stuff will never go together right. All right, this is the thickness planer. As you can tell, you raise this up and down, and that's what gives you your thickness. Obviously you can't take a whole lot off at one time, but you can definitely take off enough to make all those surfaces parallel. Okay, well, I finished running all these through the planer, and as you can tell, put some clamping pressure on those. Those joints are going to be pretty tight, and they're all the same thickness. There is another way to get these kind of results. It's going to be a lot more physical, but before all these machines were invented, people just used a standard plane. You probably would be familiar with one if you saw it, but these results would be almost identical just using human power. Luckily, I have the equipment to do it. It makes it a lot easier. And even if you were going to do this on a table saw with, let's say, maybe a belt sander, you could probably still get close to these results. But it would take a lot more elbow grease to get a nice, flat, smooth surface. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply glue to the two surfaces in here and clamp it all together. So what I have here is just a brush, and it's marked glue only, and I'm going to put some glue in a cup and use the brush to spread it out. This is going to be a fast process because there's a lot of glue that has to be spread out on these surfaces, and I don't have a lot of time before this glue will start to set up. So I've got to get this on these boards as quickly as I can, and then get them in the clamps. Well, there is the glued up top. It's got a few clamps on it. They always say you never can have enough clamps. Well, that is definitely the case. So here's what the end is going to look like, and those joints are pretty tight. The final dimension of this wooden top is not set. I always make it longer and wider so that I can cut it to the exact dimension I need. You're never going to get these to line up in the clamp. There's just too much glue, not enough time, and you're just never going to get those to line up. So your best bet is to make them longer and wider than you need to be, and you can always trim it up after you're done. So this is going to sit overnight in the clamps, and tomorrow morning I'll take them out, scrape off all the glue, give it a final sanding, round over the edges or chamfer the edges so they're not so sharp, and it'll be ready to go and put on top of the cart. After overnight in the clamps, this is the result. I saved you the boring footage of sanding it and taking it out of the clamps and cleaning the clamps off. But as you can see, the joints are pretty tight, and that's gonna make for a nice, pretty flat, smooth surface. I'm gonna sand it again with some 120 grit paper and trim the edges. So for the to trim the edges here, I'm going to use this Festool track saw. This cuts a virtually splinter-free, dust-free cut. Here we go. So this saw has a really nice feature. It has a plug that inserts into this slot here. You twist it, and it gives you about a 10-foot cord. What's nice about that is if you damage the cord or whatever, there's nothing really too terribly difficult other than paying Festool a ridiculous amount of money to replace it for you. And it makes for a really nice way to store the cord separate than having to wind it up or attach it to the tool somehow. It comes in a nice case. And as you could tell from the video, there was very little dust. So you could almost use this inside with a vacuum and not have to have much in the way of cleanup. By the way, that cord will work on any of their devices, tools. A little bit more sanding and we should be good to polyurethane. I routed a groove in there so it can sit on top of the cart and fit flush. There you go. That's how it's going to sit on there. Nice and flat. So as you can see, this is how it's going to be set up here with the TIG welder here. The MIG welder's still in the cart, but I'm going to put the MIG welder on this side, and then the plasma cutter's going to go down here on a shelf. Coming up in part 3, we're going to do a build on the actual steel frame that's going to hold the bottles and this cart. I'm going to use these swivel out casters instead of the ones that come with the cart itself. These swivel, lock. They lock the wheel and they lock the swivel, so that makes for a very stable base. So stay tuned for that, and that's going to be coming up here in the next week or so. And try to space these videos out, because of my work schedule and just family life makes to get these projects done kind of difficult. So stay tuned, and hopefully bring you some good content with that. I also wanted to mention one other thing. It'd be really great if you guys would give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down, or even leave comments down in the down at the bottom there. Let me know how I'm doing. This is all new to me, and only thing I have to go by is what I've seen on Facebook and YouTube. So if you would please comment, especially if you know me, that'd be great. I'd really like to know who's watching these videos. It kind of would help me kind of tailor the content that I would bring to you guys a little bit more well-defined. It's probably not fun for you to watch some of the repetitive things, and I'll try to avoid filming those, but if you would please just, if you could rate it and comment as you see fit. Thanks for watching.